In this video we're going to be looking at the latest Fedora release, that is Fedora 17, otherwise known as the Beefy Miracle. Now, existing Fedora users will be happy to find out that there is virtually no change in the user interface. Few extra things have been added, but the whole user experience is almost synonymous with Fedora 16. But let's go ahead and take a quick tour of the desktop for those of you not familiar with Fedora. First of all, the main interaction with the system is going to be through this activities menu up in the top left hand corner. If we click on that, we enter what is known as the activities area here. We've got two views. One is the windows. All the open windows on the system are displayed in thumbnail form here. If I click on this X here, I can close each window, or if I click on the window I'll be taken directly to that window. So I've got two windows open here, one's a browser and one is a terminal window. Over here on the right hand side we have our open virtual workspaces. I've only got one open at the moment. If I click on here I can create another. The second view we've got is what's known as the applications view, and if we click on there we can access all the applications installed on the system. Obviously the only things I've got installed currently are the default applications down here. So probably the most important one you're going to use here is the add remove software. If we just click on that, it'll launch it. As you can see, unlike an operating system such as Ubuntu or Mint, the installer tool is very basic. So one thing I want to show you is one of the applications that comes with Fedora 17 is the latest version of GIMP 2.8. And if we get time later I will show you that. And the main thing to note about GIMP 2.8 is that it does have a single screen mode. Instead of having those three different windows on the system, you can actually amalgamate them all into a single window. Okay, let's just go into GIMP now and give you a flavour of the new release. So here we are in standard mode in GIMP. If we just go to the window option and choose single window mode, then lo and behold, see what happens. Okay, so here we are in GIMP in our single mode. Let's just create a new basic picture here and select a brush and just do a simple shape, okay, with our paintbrush. One thing to notice here, the only extra tool we've got is this cage transform. So if I click on that, what I can do is I can do different points here at which I want to deform the image. So if I make a series of points around here and we'll just create that cage, then when I actually pull one of these points outwards I can deform my image in that direction. So I'm pulling that out, for instance, and you can see it's quite a powerful tool in actually manipulating an image, especially if you've got kind of a pincushion effect when you've taken a photo. Okay, so that's a new version of GIMP. Quick look at it, and we'll just quit that. Okay, so let's minimize that for the moment. If I right click here I can minimize that window. Going back to our Windows view now, you can see I have an extra window open here with my software repository in. On the left hand side of the activities view are what's known as favorites, or shortcuts to your favorite applications here. So by default you've got Firefox, Evolution, Rhythmbox, Shotwell, your file manager, and because I'm running this in live CD mode from a USB stick, I've got the option to install the operating system to my hard drive. Okay, notice here we have two additional icons for Windows that we've got currently open on the system, our software manager and our terminal. Now when I close those two applications, if I was to close this window, let's close the software application, you can see that that icon immediately disappears. And the same thing indeed will happen if I close the terminal window here. However, I do want the terminal icon to be present in my favorites at all times, so I can right click in there and I can choose add to favorites. Now when I close this window here, this icon will still be visible in my favorites. So that's a neat way of being able to get to and from your favorite applications. So that's the activities area. Now to get out of the activities area, I can either click on the option key, otherwise known as the Windows key, or I can click the escape key just to come straight back out. Now the other Fedora options are all along the top line of the screen. First of all, in the middle I've got the calendar, exactly the same as previous versions of Fedora. I've got my current month and I can change to previous or next month, and I've also got all my appointments that I've got scheduled for the current day here. So you can see here I haven't got anything selected, but if I did create something in my default calendar application, which is Evolution, it will display here, and indeed I can invoke Evolution just by clicking on this option here. This next icon, little man, is the accessibility menu. So here I can turn on and off various aids for people who are visually or physically impaired. Now the only additional option in Fedora 17 over Fedora 16 is this screen keyboard here. So I can enable a keyboard on which I can type using this visual representation of the keyboard here if for any reason I have problems getting to the keyboard. I'll just switch that off again. Next option along is the sound settings, so I can change the volume on the system to whatever I like, or I can indeed change my complete sound settings from here, change my input hardware, etc. Next along is Bluetooth. I'm running on a laptop, I've got it disabled, so that's not a problem. Next icon along is network. So I'm attached to a wired network at the moment, but I can disable it here by switching it off. Switch it off like that. You can see that the icon goes to disabled status. Come back on, I just click on the button again, and it will go back to enabled. Again, I can configure my network settings from this menu. Next one down, again because I'm running on a laptop, this gives me my battery status, and I can change my power settings for the laptop when it shuts down, when it goes into power save, etc. And finally we have our user menu on this side. So here you can add a particular icon or your favorite picture. Here if you enable the chat application, which is by default empathy, you can set yourself as available, unavailable, etc. The notifications here, you've probably noticed a few of these notifications come up in the bottom of the screen here. If you don't like those coming up all the time, you can disable them there, okay, or re-enable them just by clicking on that button. Here you can set up various accounts if you've got, for instance, your chat account, your email account, etc. System settings, this menu is very useful and it allows you to configure things like your printers, your power settings, the display, all those sorts of good things that you would find equivalent to a Windows control panel. Next, down here we've got the options for the user. So at the moment I've only got the ability to switch user or log out or suspend the system. I think you may well get extra options once you install this to disk, but because I'm running in live CD mode I've only got these two. One thing to note is if you hold down the Alt key, you'll see that the suspend option changes to power off. So you don't actually have to log out in order to power the machine down. You can hit the Alt key and then click the power off, and then you can choose restart or power off. Let's take a quick look at the file manager. Now this hasn't changed at all. As you can see, we've got the devices down this side. We've got various system devices here. Here we've got an alert that pops up when we click on different things. Okay, I can't get to that. Or we've got our home drive here. Let's click on the alert to get rid of it. So single click to select something like a directory or a file, double click to navigate down into it if it's a directory, to run it if it's a file. So here we've got an MPEG file. Don't think I've got the drivers loaded to run it, but you can see that it goes into Movie Player. And that's pretty much all there is to the desktop. So let's take a look at a summary of the Fedora 17 releases. First of all, the highlights. So the desktop has been upgraded to GNOME 3.4, and one of the important things is it's also installed something called GNOME Shell Software Rendering. So this is apparently software that allows GNOME to run flawlessly on hardware which doesn't have a graphics acceleration card. So this is an attempt to allow Fedora 17 to run on older, more low-spec hardware. Applications. The big one here is GIMP 2.8. A lot of people have been looking forward to that single window mode. On the virtualization front, Fedora 17 has full support for the OpenStack initiative. So this is the open source standard for virtualization on a box. The latest version is installed, known as OpenStack Essex, and a host of the OpenStack tools are also on top of it, such as Horizon and Quantum. The Java front, support for Java 7 and the JBoss App Server 7 is also included. On the programming front, the latest PHP 5.4, Ruby 1.9.3, and upgrades to the D language have been implemented. On the default application side, for anybody who's used Fedora before, there's absolutely no change here. Default applications include Firefox as the browser, Empathy as the chat, Rhythmbox as the audio player, SoundJuicer as a CD player and ripper, Brasero as a CD burner, Cheese as a video booth, and Evolution as the email calendar. We have had a brief play with some of the other applications on the system, and although we haven't extensively tested them, we have checked that they do install and start up and do a few basic things. The applications we looked at include Audacity, Banshee, GIMP 2.8, Kdenlive, Record My Desktop, FFmpeg works, Scribus. We haven't had a chance to look at Synfig Studio and UF-Raw yet, but no doubt we'll keep you posted on that. So in summary, why would you upgrade to Fedora 17? Well, there are three reasons that I can think of. One is if you're moving to Fedora for the first time, then there's no reason why you shouldn't go straight to the latest release. Secondly, if you're a Fedora 15 user, then the end of support is coming up pretty soon. I think it's on the 20th of June. So you might want to think about upgrading to Fedora 17 now so that further upgrades will be compatible with your system. And finally, if you're an early adopter of new technologies and you're willing to take the risk, then it's certainly worth you looking into the features available with the new Fedora 17 release.